for when it wants.
Okay, so my idea is Nowtopia. It's a community center where kids and adults together make action in their community for sustainable living. For example, urban gardening, planting the trees, constructing bikes, going on a bike ride, making a swap party, stuff like this. And the kids are allowed and they are asked to bring their fantasy in because adults are not so good with fantasy anymore. So this is why kids in this Nowtopia are very important. Yeah, to bring in their fantasy, and the adults help them to create everything. And it's all about action speaks louder than words, and think global, act local. And yet, of course, you can do this community center all around the world, in every city, every community you want. Here on my poster, I did this for the community I am from. That's it.
So we thought when they play, kids naturally go together. They share skills, share ideas, and they invent new things, new good things, and they naturally give a bit of themselves. So we start talking, and then we had many ideas, but we agreed on one, which was that we all have an inner power, that we can all give and do something that will make a difference. So that's what the statue for the shared idea. So this idea made us think about the butterfly effect, because a very little change that seems insignificant can finally have a large, broad impact, even if we don't know what and when this impact will happen and how big it will be. Okay. So now the question is, how can our inner power can be used to have a large and positive impact? The first step is, we think, is to be aware of this inner power, because it makes everything easier. It helps looking to the future with optimism, and we saw that kids need to look to the future with optimism to grow up and to keep inventing and creating, and adults do too. There is no more fear. You feel relaxed because you know you can do something. You don't have to wait for other people to save you. So that's the first point, and we all need this, children or adults. The second point is, then if you connect your inner power with other people, just like kids do, and just like nature does. When you see in natural ecosystem, everything is connected. So if you connect with other people with this conviction that you have an inner power, you will start engaging actions. And then again, if you multiply this connection of inner individual powers, then you can lead to a change at a wider scale.
So with all this idea, we decide to create a Let It Be Butterfly Party. It's kind of a social game. So Camille helped us design the cards that will be used during this kind of social game. So here we go. So it's like you have the front of the card. In front of the card we put a butterfly that symbolizes the butterfly effect. And with the butterfly you have different cards, so you can have in front of, like, with the butterfly we try to put every kind of element, or sometimes it's not element, it's for a cause. So we have the ocean, the forest and the biodiversity. This one is for the air, the pollution. And the last one is for the industry. So on the back, after that, you can put your name and your contact. Then you have to answer 3 kind of small questions. What you want to give, what you need, or what I want. And together we can, and you can write something down on the bottom. So it can be a dream or something you like, a project. So with this, what was most difficult to create was the front of the card, because we all have different idea of what can be behind the butterfly. So yeah, so you have the card, and with this card you have to meet people and try to interact with people and create a link between you. So with this card we made like a small list of what you have to do when you go to the butterfly party. So you can try to find the people who can give you something.
So I think we have to say that we want to have this butterfly party on Saturday at Place to Be, because I will say we want to start local. So the butterfly effect will start on Saturday. We want to be part of it. And the idea is that you're coming, you're entering, you're taking your card, you put your name, you put what you want to give, so you have to think about it.
So you
what can I give? And then what do you want? And what can we dream about together? So the idea is first think about what you can give, and
then afterward you find someone. So you go in a party and you try to talk with people and to interact. So you can like go on the dance floor and ask something to someone, or go to a small like part of the room.
Oh, you stay there. Like you flip it
with
and
this
you stay there
thing.
saying, I give this.
Yeah. And so if you find one person who has the same interest than you can give it the card. And if you find a lot of people, you can give a lot of cards. So
if you want to give a lot of things, and you just want to give
you don't have
to.
Yeah, and then you can start collaborating or exchanging ideas. And finally, when you go back home, you try to stay in touch with the name and the contact number or the email. And you try to replicate this in your local community, or it can be you can do that also in a school with children. Like they can put their name and maybe not their contacts, but and what they are willing to give, what they want, and what they can do together. So yeah.
Can we start this tonight?
We don't have a lot of them.
Oh, this is such a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
It's time to start now.
The idea is to share the cards on the website, and then we were talking, we are community engaged in climate, but maybe if you go to a special school, the problem will be a specific problem to start in a school. For instance, big are being bad with small, and how can we have a social discussion within the school? This is a good start to work and do something together. So this is really open. You can give whatever you want. You can have a topic, or whatever topic it can be open. But the idea is think about what you want to give more than what you want about the other. And when you go and meet people in another view, because traditionally, even in Place to Be, I mean, we are all in transactions, you know, we are doing things, we're looking for some help, and we want things, and we go and meet people, how are you doing this interests me, but this one, think about what you have to give, and then you will open many doors and things, and this can be the butterfly or the snowball.
Right.
So we can start with
Okay, it's now the army that is team through.
Projects in the factory this week, our idea went through many phases, which is a good thing. We built, we went up, we reached sort of a nadir, a low point, we went all the way up, we reached an apogee, a high point, And we ended up with this idea of reaching out to groups of people who we don't normally identify with in our movement. The climate change movement is typically, and is part of the environmental movement, which is typically a white movement of upper class people around the world. And we've heard statistics, and as we were talking about reaching out to young people, a lot of our talk focused on this bridging this gap between us as environmentalists and our audience, which have different concerns. So what we came up with ultimately was this idea of it's the F word.
Say it.
Say it. Frack. There are no kids in the room.
Okay, not yet. Fuck the climate. Save the hood. And the idea behind this was that we felt like people, the climate is too big and too scientific. And originally we thought of fuck the cop because young people don't like police. We kind of made that connection, but of course the cop is going to disappear in 3 days. It'll be off of everybody's consciousness, so we have to go back to the climate. And we wanted people to think about not just the climate, but about their local neighborhoods and what they can do to revitalize their local neighborhoods. And for a lot of people, the word hood in the United States is what they identify with. It's their neighborhood. And what can you do in your own neighborhood? Screw the climate. The climate's so big, we can't save the entire climate. We talked about local heroes, about not superheroes, but real heroes. And what you can do to be a real hero, this is part of our campaign, is to be a hero in your neighborhood. So you're the person who is doing things to help stop climate change. Part of our project, of course, is to reach out to the African American community, is what we call it in the United States. I think the word in French is black people. And so we said, there's a group right down the street. Well, as so often happens, we made footprints, and this is our logo. We looked at a lot of different logos, and we came up with this because in so many ways it means so much. It means walking barefoot on the ground, so you're feeling the earth. It means, it brings a symbol of refugees, of walking barefoot with no shoes. It's taking footsteps instead of hands. It's the feet, it's the sole. The sole of the foot is just like the soul reaching the soul of the earth. And we played around with it. We ended up, we thought about a black footprint because we wanted to reach people who were African American black people. What we found out outside, though, is that in France, they chased, I don't know how many people know about the history of Algeria and France's role in Algeria, but they chased black people down in Algeria, and they called
les pieds noirs, which is an insult. So we just wanted to be sure, because we were interested in a campaign which can really be rolled out in several countries. So we were interested to have some symbol which could be identified for any, let's say, community which is not as integrated as we feel they are. So we said, okay, no, let's not go for the like foot as it could be insult in some countries.
Okay, and so we went with the green, and we think the green is symbolic, obviously, of the environmental movement. We could play with it around a little bit more, but we also wanted to visit the bar down the street. Now, Chris kind of issued this challenge to us, and I've asked many high school students over the years, how many times have you been surrounded by people of a different color, of a different race? And almost no one has had this experience. It's extremely rare, particularly I think for white people, to go into an all-black community. And I think it's important and powerful, and I think everyone should do it, because you challenge your comfort, and you challenge a lot of deep feelings, and the emotional experience is powerful. I think when you do that, you need to debrief and talk about it. And I don't think there's any separating race from the climate movement. I think the two are inextricably linked. And I think that if we really want to have system change or climate change, I think system change comes first. We have to figure out how to get along and how to address, how to start talking about race. Because it's all over, and it's not going away. And it underpins what we're doing in all of our work here. So here are some voices of people who we don't ordinarily associate with. We go to COP, and we talk to people there who are like us. We go out here, and we talk to people who are pretty much like us. But these are people who are on the street and have other things going on in their lives.
So it's in French, and then we will translate for you afterwards.
Ivan, enchanté. Donc on est du Place to Be, c'est juste à côté, et on parle sur le climat. Et on veut s'intéresser surtout aux jeunes. Est-ce que les jeunes pensent du climat? Est-ce que ça les intéresse? Ça leur fait peur? Voilà, donc je te laisse un peu me raconter ce que tu as dans la tête et sur ton cœur. Ça t'impacte toi et ta famille?
Moi j'en pense rien. Franchement, je sais pas en fait.
Ouais.
Tout ce que je sais, c'est qu'il y a un peu de danger.
Ouais.
Mais je sais pas c'est quoi le danger, je sais pas ça pourra quoi comme maladie.
Ouais, c'est pas quelque chose. Et quel sera un bon argument?
Maybe just so to
because she asked him what they are thinking about the climate, and the first reaction was, I think nothing. I don't understand anything, and I think nothing. I have no more information about that, and I don't know how to have a concrete action for the climate change.
And the second one says, I know it does something, but then I don't know what it does exactly. So the first thing was really not knowing.
Pour que tu t'intéresses. Et tu seras prête de t'engager, d'aller le week-end, faire des trucs
Pourquoi pas, si j'ai rien à faire, je le fais.
Ouais. Et tes amis, tu penses aussi que tu pourrais les convaincre?
Je vois, bien sûr.
Vous avez froid là déjà, effectivement ça s'assoit déjà sur notre corps, parce qu'on a froid.
Mais vas-y, toi, on parle pas de ça, voilà, on parle de la pollution, mon frère.
Mais pourquoi pas?
Tu sais pourquoi?
Translation.
The first thing was, how would be engage you in the climate?
Would you engage in the
Yeah. And he say, yeah, I can if I have nothing to do during the day, I can be engaged too.
And the second thing was, yeah, it's cold, so we feel already. So he was, you know, so taking random stuff like saying, yeah, it's cold, so we feel the climate action. It was,
We are in December.
yeah. So basically to make fun and to say that he doesn't really know anything.
And so then he says to his mate, we are talking about the pollution, or just
Yeah.
say you are out of the discussion about pollution.
Yeah, you're talking about colds and we are talking about pollution, so you see really that they don't know what is really going on.
Parce que j'aime bien l'adrénaline.
Oui, avec une voiture électronique, tu vas voir.
Non, il n'y a même pas de ça.
Le moteur est bien, merde. C'est pas pareil.
Et si tes amis te disent que c'est nous on conduit plus les voitures à diesel et donc tu prends une voiture.
Ah, moi, l'essence, direct toujours.
C'est vrai? Et pourquoi?
Non,
Quand tu accélères, tu sens que tu accélères.
Là, tu vas du chemin.
speak about car, and the first thing it says that yeah, I like the speed, and never mind. I want to, but I will not stop to buy a car because I like the speed, and my car has to be with fuel.
The electric car are of no interest because you have no adrenaline when you speed.
Yeah. And then I asked him, and what if your friends would say electric cars are cool? And he said, oh no, I don't care. I want the adrenaline. I'm going to die. So it's I mean, we'll say later what we detected, but change of consumption is going to be this.
Se battre contre le changement climatique, c'est vrai que c'est à trouver un job qui est bien payé et que tu te dis, bah, d'un côté, j'ai un peu de moi et
si j'ai un job qui me plaît, pourquoi pas?
et tu pourras t'engager pour le
Mais l'anglais, ça va servir à acheter une voiture d'essence, c'est ça?
Ah ouais, ça c'est pas... Non, ça vient...
Enfin, moi, ça m'intéresse pas, mais bon, après, peut-être quelques personnes sont plus sensibles à la nature.
Mais en fait, il y a plein de gens, on ne peut rien changer.
C'est par exemple pour le son d'air.
The question was if you have the choice to
find a good job which pays.
Yeah, if climate helps you to find a good job. It was a little bit, testing the things we have in mind, saying, okay, that if we can show somehow a benefit that climate change gives them something other than health, because they don't feel that it's doing anything against the health, they don't care about the planet, but as they are from very poor families, maybe if they would get work from that. But then the whole thing, he said, yeah, but then I will end up buying a car which is with fuel. So it wouldn't help you, even if you give me a job through climate change or through helping the climate, I would not change my consumption. So it's a vicious
But
cycle.
also the other one said that I'm not really interested in the subject, so it's not my stuff, but maybe some people are interested in nature. So it's nice, it's interesting to see that.
Oh, I didn't hear that. The
There's
smaller one.
Yeah. Just him. So it's like this is about pollution. This is about nature. As if everything was separate.
Yeah. This is funny because the smaller guy at the beginning he didn't want to all interact with us. He passed away. He passed by, and then his friends started talking, and then he came back, and then bizarrely he opened up at some stage. And he started talking, and he gave some, I think, quite interesting things. So it's not that he doesn't care. It's just that I think you don't push him far enough to really open up and talk about it. Yeah, but he was an interesting person. He came back, and then.
Ouais, on peut diminuer, mais on pourra faire de... Voilà.
Mais tu peux pas mourir et on va dire c'est à cause de tu combats.
Ah bah si, il y a plus, hein.
No, so he doesn't believe that you can die because of pollution. So I explained to him then afterwards that there are a lot of deaths per year, annual, because of air pollution, and that it's a real risk. And we talked about what would it be if somebody of his family dies. So I tried to, bring him a little bit in a situation that he sees or feels the climate thing, because for him that was really something they didn't care, because it was not anything concerning them right now, today, themselves. It was very far away because lack of information and for them lack of immediate impact. So yeah. But in any case, because we started off the day listening to Sharon and to what he was talking about his high school kids in the US, and I think with what we saw here, it totally confirms that there is a real need, that there are so many groups still that are lacking absolute relevant information for them, and that we need to start with them with our action Fuck the Climate or Fuck the Clock.
And we were just being playful with messages, and you know how walk around.
We know.
Even though many teachers
I don't understand. Sorry.
in America do not like this, kids do. And even though it might not work with all people, I don't know if I'd sell this down here, but we came up with a little logo on the back of the boxers that says hood. And we just think that climate change needs to come back to the hood. Climate change needs to come back to the neighborhood. And that's where we're going. All right.
We've moved on from 3 card games to these 3 very different ideas. You know, it's fantastic progress. I mean, for me, idea 1, I love Nowtopia. I just think it's a wonderful phrase. You know, to get over this dreamy future that we're somehow struggling to describe, let alone reach, to then turn it around and say, what we want is Nowtopia. What we want is all the values that we want to invest in Utopia, but we want it now is terrific. And this idea of taking the things that we lose as adults, our imagination, our kind of, you know, crazy ambitions, and working with adults in this kind of, when we talked about the idea earlier, it's almost like a relay race. So, you know, the child starts the idea, passes the baton on to the adult contributes something, then passes it back to the kid. You know, I think it could be really interesting as a community project. And it's something, you know, the idea of Nowtopia Berlin or Nowtopia Lisbon or Nowtopia London, this kind of from the ground up collaboration between adults and children, maybe extending on what play centres are already doing to generate new thinking, is really, really interesting. Idea 2, I think we've talked a lot in the last 2 weeks about how the climate movement actually lacks an iconic image. I think we're tired of the polar bear. I think we should propose the butterfly. I think the butterfly for me is a very interesting iconic image. You know, it's fragile, it's universal, it's beautiful, it represents nature at its best, but it also represents something that it's so easy to lose. And this idea that it, you know, it moves across, it moves from different locations is very, very interesting. Then the idea of the cards is great, because for me there's a combination of the ritual of exchanging business cards with the childlike thing of trading cards, of Pokemon cards and stuff like that. So combining those 2 thoughts together and then doing it at the place to be closing night party is a great idea, you know, because everyone goes away having swapped skill sets and with a sense of, here's something we'll do in 2016 together. So I think that's a lovely little gesture to tie up all this spirit of collaboration. Idea 3, genius, you know, fuck the climate, save the hood. Again, you know, it's that provocative thinking that we need. We had it, you know, a couple of days ago with, you know, would you have sex with a climate migrant? Would you have sex with the climate? There's a thought. But, you know, fuck the climate, save the hood does this job of going, if it's too overwhelming a subject, scale it down. Scale it down to what you can do in your local community. And I think the other thing is, to have gone out and filmed those people is brilliant. And I sure as hell know most of the people in COP haven't been talking to those people about the decisions they're making. So to have reached out to that group of people is really, really good. So I think, you know, to have ended up here, you know, this is the last 2-day briefing session that we've done. You know, to have Nowtopia as a new rallying cry, to have the butterfly potentially as an icon of the movement and this way to swap skill sets, and to have the beginning of a film, of a whole research project in a way that says we've got to connect with these other communities, you know, because they see no reason to be involved. You know, so, you know, if what it takes is to say fuck the climate, then say fuck the climate, you know, and concentrate on saving the hood. You know, if we have to go grassroots like that, then let's do it. But again, a fantastic 2-day session. So congratulations to everyone. I would wear a pair of those boxer shorts. I definitely would.
Chris?
Yeah.
I know you may have some other concluding remarks. I just a quick request for a little photo of all of us. Could we do that? And what I was going to ask is Molly, when she was here, remember Molly who spoke yesterday? She had these and she asked. I thought if whoever is interested and wants to come up, put a name of a son or a daughter or a grandchild or a niece or a nephew or a child in your life. We could just use these since it's the kids and families workshop to do a photo that we could definitely post and share with parent family groups around the world. That would be great. So if you want to come up and do one and put a child's name on here, we'll do a group photo. If not, that's whoever wants to participate.
Sure. I mean,
this is extra credit.
Yeah. Just quickly, I'd just like to check. Did anyone else want to say anything about the campaign? Did anyone else want to contribute or make a comment?
Just my comment on this one over here, fuck the climate. I think it's really good, and I also think that it draws into questions that I'm most passionate about, which is inequality. And if we don't address inequality, we can't access other communities. And this is one of the key issues. But I think part of the reason a lot of communities don't get engaged is because if your voice doesn't get heard, generally, why the hell would your voice get heard about other issues?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And I really like that, and I think we need to deal with inequality. So yeah, thanks.
Cool.
So you can produce boxer shorts now. You're going to use boxer shorts.